What does it mean to get it out the mud? Get it out the mud. What does it mean to get it out the mud? What it means to get it out the mud means if it's handed to you, well, you're technically somebody's, you're expected to perform in the way that, they want you to perform. But if you get it out the mud, then you're expected to perform how you obligate yourself to perform. So what does it mean to get it out the mud? Get it out the mud. Essentially turning something that was nothing into something. To get it out the mud. I feel like you're different when you got it out the mud. Because you gotta be, it's gotta be something about that aspect of literally having nothing and being able to turn it into something, aka being black in America. I'm just kidding, not to make it a political issue or a thing, but no, but for real though, what does it mean to get it out the mud? What is your definition of getting it out the mud? Or was I quite on point? Right? Because technically, isn't this a pimp society where I will help you, but I will also slap you as you get up? I'm going to help you, but that help is also vain help. So fuck the help, right? Fuck the help, right? Fuck the help. Fuck the help. You don't need it. Fuck the help, right? A lot of times they say purpose was actually created within your community. It was just what your community created your purpose, technically, kind of, in a way. But then that's kind of the same thing. If your community is creating your purpose, then they're handing it to you versus you standing up within your community and you being that leader, right? So not everything is necessarily bad that is handed to you, depending on how you choose to transmute that energy. But there's something about getting it out the mud where it's almost like, in theory, a lot more would be created, a lot more, it would have a lot more value in a way. Yeah, it would have a lot more value in a way. Why would it have a lot more value in a way? Yeah. Maybe it would have a lot more. So anyway, like the point that there is to be made is basically that no one really truly gets it out the mud. Because you cannot just have nothing and create something from nothing. It sounds nice and it sounds tough and it sounds cool, but that is not really real. That's not, because that's saying that a baby could just be poofed as a baby and be created out of nowhere without a mother and a father taking place to actually create the baby. So to say that we create something from nothing, it sounds cool and I get the concept, but technically we don't just create something from nothing. So people who say that they're self-made and they really got it out the mud and no help, they didn't have any help, they had to, nothing exists without some type of form of help. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not realistic. Whether it's like divine intervention or whatever the form of help it is, whether it be the idea that came to your head, you know what I mean? That idea might have been an idea that you thought about, but in order for that idea to have worked, who did you pitch the idea to? Someone had to say yes. If I just sell something, if I create a product and I just create the product and it simply just exists, okay, and I call myself a successful entrepreneur, I can say yes, I am a successful entrepreneur, because success being a state of mind, because I created this and it exists as is. But it is more logical to say I'm a successful entrepreneur after I created something and I make sales and I produce revenue. It brings me wealth, it brings me substance. But in order to do that, I have to have people who have to have that demand for the supply that I have. People have to say yes. So there is no getting it out of the mud without people actually saying, yes, yes, I want that. Let's do that. Yes. And people saying yes over and over and over again. And that's where your revenue is coming from, is from people saying yes. You know what I mean? So I get the whole concept of get it out the mud, but, you know, no one really truly gets it out the mud. And that's just the reality. Like, the reality is no one truly gets it out the mud unless you are literally like the Most High, probably itself. Like, literally. You know what I mean? So, because then that means that we'd have to say that we just created ourselves. And even if that be the case, that we created ourselves and we want to call ourselves God in theory, right? Some say we call ourselves God in theory because we have the ability to create. But if you tell me to make an ocean, you know what I mean, or make a sky, or make firmaments, you know what I mean, that's a different story. You know what I mean? I could probably do that, a form of that, and you know what I mean? Let's say I could probably do that. I could probably create a sky and ocean. I mean, you know, give me a piece of paper and a, you know, painting kit, and I can do that. And I could show you my painting and say, look here, I've created seas, I've created trees, I've created bees, and I drew it. And I would be accurate. I've created it on a piece of paper. It was a blank piece of paper before I came. So yeah, I can take that title and say, yes, I am, you know, the God of what I just created, in sense, you know what I mean? But then I would mean that we just created ourselves, or, you know, the substance of all that is just created itself. Created itself, or it just existed. Give me 1 second. Okay, so yeah, so essentially it makes sense as to why people say that, you know what I'm saying? Because imagine this whole place, like this whole place is just a blank piece of paper, and until we came, it was just nothing, basically. So that's why people kind of like say that. That's where that kind of comes from, because they're like, you know, I can create whatever I want, you know what I'm saying? I really can create whatever I want, you know what I mean? And this is not nothing without me being here. What was it before? What would it be if, you know, if we weren't present? Yeah. So that's what people kind of like mean. But this whole like I got it out the mud type of thing, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's technically, you know, I get why people say it, but it's not practical. It's not practical only in the reason being that it literally takes masculinity and femininity energy coming together to create something for it to exist, you know? I took it there, but, you know, I'm just saying, the basics of creation, even if you want to call yourself, you know, God or the creator, or if you want to call yourself that, you know what I mean? It just means that you're in alignment with the substance of all that is, kind of. It would mean that kind of here, you know. You're in alignment with the substance of everything, all that is. So everything works out for you. Everything, literally everything, works out for you in your best interests, because you're in alignment with all that is. You know what I mean? You comprehend all that is. You fully comprehend all that is. That would really make you one of the most intelligent beings on the planet. Why? Because you can comprehend all that is. Imagine being able to comprehend all that is. Not just being smart or what we think is intelligent, but literally being able to comprehend all that is. Not just that 1 + 1 = 2, but why 1 + 1, you know. No. Not just that 1 + 1 = 2. Okay, this is the example that I want to use. Not that just 1 + 2 = 3, but why does it take 1 + 2 and then boom, pops out 3? Why? Why is that the formula? Why the sensei is paid in full? the sensei is paid in full. If it makes sense, you can put it towards the bill. But the sensei is paid in full. If it makes sense, you can put it towards the bill. If it makes sense, put it towards the bill. Right? But the sensei, there's a reason why the sensei is paid in full. Food for thought. Food for thought. Food for thought. Food for thought. Sometimes I think about what's the point of rules? What's the point of the essence of formula? Why was rules created? Why did we can't even say why was rules created? Because as a collective, if we follow them, that's what we're creating it to be, I guess. But yeah, life in general, like, it's just interesting, period. It's all so interesting. But the fact that we can communicate, that the fact that Google even says that communication is 93% nonverbal, that in itself should tell you, like, okay, there's clearly more to even just your everyday life in existence. Even, to language itself. Beyond language itself. You cannot even comprehend what I'm saying, but you can feel out the energy aspect of what I'm saying and still have a different comprehension of what's being said. Isn't that crazy? It's like how someone can be speaking aggressively but not be angry. And they're not actually angry. Because you can comprehend them. It's like a man can see a woman. She's not meaning to be aggressive, or, he's comprehending her. He's comprehending her. It's like when a man has the ability to comprehend a woman. Like, oh, she's not... How she's expressing herself, someone from the outside in might look like, she looks really upset. But it's no, he can comprehend her. He can feel her. He's like, no, man, she's not upset. I see what's really going on here. So that's me just giving an example of different ways of comprehension, perceptions. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. So how do you know if you're on the right path? Some say if there's peace, right? If there's peace. But it's interesting, right? I'm going to give an example. You could be getting all this free money. It could seem like everything is working out for you. You could feel like, there isn't much struggle. You know what I mean? It seems pretty easy. I'm not saying that every easy pathway is not the right pathway, but imagine that your parents are just like taking care of you and they pay for your school, they make sure everything is straight, right? But you end up doing these things, you end up going to school for something that they wanted you to go to school for. And then you're thinking about yourself, like, you're sitting there and you're thinking with yourself, like, did I actually want to do that? Type vibes. But I mean, by logic, you can kind of see what the probability of the risk and reward ratio, the risk to reward ratio would be, like the risk and reward ratio. You can kind of see what it is, because deep down you always know what you truly want. You know what I mean? And if you truly want peace, you're gonna see how you can balance that out in your life. But yeah, how do you know if you're truly on the right path in life? If you're doing what fulfills your soul. Because something that is really not that soul fulfilling, it might kind of feel a little bit forced. It might kind of feel like it's a drag. It might kind of feel like, damn, why am I doing this? It might kind of feel like, damn, that seems like a lot of effort. You know what I'm saying? But something that you just naturally like to do, there's a whole lot of things that you just for free, just like to do without someone even having to pay you for it. And some people don't think that that exists, that they can literally get paid to do something that they actually enjoy. That's sad, right? That is kind of sad. That does sound sad. Like, it sounds unrealistic that, you know, why would I get paid to do something that I enjoy? But what if the reality is, yes, you can get paid to do something that you enjoy. Everyone thinks that, oh, in order to get what you want, you got to do something that you don't want. Which I get it in theory. It applies in the logic aspect of this world, you know. But if creativity has no bounds, then that's also, in theory, it doesn't matter which way you. Anyways, you probably wake up one day like, you know what, this is a scam. I don't want this. You know what I mean? Everything might seem great, and you might wake up one day like, nah, this is a scam. This is what y'all wanted me to do. That's why it's very important that parents really actually study their children and see what they're actually really good at, and not just see what they're good at, but really see where their heart is at. Not just see what they're good at, but see where their heart is at. Not a lot of parents pay attention to their children's hearts. You know, y'all in y'all world, in the projected world, y'all want to tell children the projected world perspective and reality. You know what I mean? You guys will beat it over their heads. You guys will beat reality projections over their head when the new people coming into this world and these children, you know what I mean, are supposed to be the change. You know what I mean? Yet, you guys I don't want to say the word reinforce, but yeah, reinforce the same BS that's already on the planet versus creating something, you know, a lot more bliss. But, I mean, yeah, I mean, things can be transmuted in a way. Like, you know, that's the cool part, I guess, about, like, transmutation type of thing. Because essentially someone who can do that is someone who takes, you know, they might not have wanted to do that degree, but they took it and did something else. So that's why they say, well, in order to do something that you don't want to do, you got to do something that you... in order to do something that you want to do, you got to do something that you don't want to do. Because there's no getting there without going through this. Which, I see the logic behind that. I do see the logic behind that. You know, I do see the logic. I do respect the logic. You know, I do respect the logic. But, from the point of view that we, as a collective, have the ability to create things as they are and keep them as they are, or create them, you know, create something new. Not even something new, but just something that even just makes sense. If we want to just call it something new, but something that made sense. Like, imagine imagine going to school and they literally studied you, like, in the way where they pointed you in the direction of where your heart was. You know what I mean? Imagine from birth, whether you were in school or not. You know what I mean? The people, places, and things that you're around is like pointing you in the direction of studying you to figure out, okay, where can you be in alignment? Where's your heart at? What are you really good at? You know what I mean? And placing you, that's ideally what it's supposed to do, you know. But the only people who really say, like, oh, you got to do something that you don't want to do in order to get something that you do want to do, look at the lives of those people who say that. And if you're a person who say that, I mean, I'm not saying... I'm not trying to go there. But genuinely, like, look at the lives of the people who say that. They might be happy, which is like, you know what I mean? They might be happy. But to say that to someone and to project that reality onto them is still a reality, whether it's positive or negative. Like, literally, whether it's positive or negative, it's still a reality that you're projecting to someone. You know? But that someone also still should be rooted enough, you know, because we're not victims. That person, that someone should also still be rooted enough to see where they're coming from and comprehend the comprehension skills, right? Have good comprehension skills to be able to see where they're coming from. Like, okay, I see where you're coming from, but I also know myself and I know the direction that I'm going, and that self-assurity and that confidence, you know what I mean? Because imagine that, no, they was born knowing exactly what they wanted to do. So even if the process seemed like, oh, I'm not doing everything that I want to do, but they're doing what they want to do because they know exactly what they want to do. You know what I mean? So having that mindset, like, no, it's not that I'm doing something that I don't want to do in order to get something that I want. It's no, I'm going for what I want, and that's the energy that I put everything that I do in towards that. You know what I mean? Versus it seeming like I'm just going to do something that I don't want to get what I want. Like, nah. Just go for exactly what you want, but some people don't know exactly what they want, and that can get kind of like, that's where it kind of gets, you know, it might feel like it's confusing, but it's really not. You know what you want by the feedback that you feel. So by your feelings, how does it feel? That's how you know what you want. It's simple. How does it feel? Does it feel good? Feelings are feedback, you know what I'm saying? So, you know. But in the way, feelings are feedback, but they're not always accurate. So that's why people kind of say that as well. So I get it. But, yeah. That's why it's good to just be emotion, just create energy and motion, because then you can see what energy you can comprehend what energy that you know you want in motion. So go towards emotion versus feedback, because emotion is energy in motion. So you know what energy that you want to put in motion. As long as you're aware, you're aware of what energy that you want to put in motion. There you go. There you go. That's how you know you know what you want, because you're aware of the energy that you want to put in motion. So yeah, in theory, that's how you figure out what you want. How we just figured out what we want in life is to comprehend, know feelings, which is just feedback, which tells us whether something feels good or not. But don't follow your feelings. Follow the energy that you want to put in motion, which points you back to yourself. And a true leader will always point you back to yourself. Here are my thoughts on school and what you want to do in life in general. My thoughts on school is, if you can go for free and you're smart, that's a no-brainer. If you can go for free and you're already smart, the probability, chances of, if you just want something to do, why not just get a degree if it's easy? And just because it comes naturally, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's nothing wrong with you being smart. Because if it comes naturally, then why not do it? It comes naturally to you already. So, you know, it comes naturally. If it comes naturally to you and it's free, then that's a no-brainer. That's literally a no-brainer. It's free. And, but they say that nothing is for free. But nothing can be bought also at the same time. Okay, I'm sorry. I forgot we're in a 3D world and I have to speak 3D language in English. So what I mean by that, right? Nothing can be bought in a way. I say that is because it's not gonna. How can I make this comprehensible in a 3D world? In a 3D world, things can be bought and sold. Okay? But in reality, you know, the dollar has no substance unless we just created it to be that way. And without us collectively creating it to be that way, as participants, it would have no value. And that's just literal reality. So even if we want to use logic, logically, if we all said, you know, if we all just literally stopped paying bills, if everyone said and agreed as a collective, money is not even real. It's like a piece of paper that we just gave energy to and made it exist. Then that means nothing can be bought or sold, because what are you buying and what are you selling? Like, at that point, we just exist and we trade and just create. At that point, pretty much. But yeah, nothing can be bought and nothing can be sold. Not when it's already paid in full. Now that's the spiritual version of what I'm saying, which is probably beyond the human comprehension. Shadow side explained. Shadow self. What is the shadow self? Essentially the dark parts of you who are really like the dark fantasy parts of you, which they would say is the real you. The shadow self is the real you, right? Essentially, the shadow side would be literally the shadow side of you, right? The side of you that you hide, right? Your shadow side, the side of you that you hide. So, maybe, I guess so, we live in a world where people have shadow sides of themselves that they hide. And maybe other people reflect those shadow sides that they hide. So we have to ask ourselves, what is my true shadow side? Don't let someone else define your shadow side for you. You can ask yourself, what is my shadow side? You know, what is it that I would hide? You know what I mean? Would it be a woman who would prefer multiple men? Maybe she hides that in reality because that's not the world that we live in, right? Would it be a man that is secretly gay? Because that's not reality. That's not the world that we live in, right? Would it be a married couple who's actually swingers or something like that? We just dive straight in. Or could it be, you know, a man that is married, you know, to a woman for business purposes, but his shadow side really leans towards excitement, fun, you know what I mean? Could it be those things? Is that our true shadow side? Now, within reasoning, let's say you're with someone. That's why it's important to surround yourself around people who comprehend your shadow side, but know how to direct it in a way. Because it's not that your shadow side is completely like this all like really negative thing. You know, maybe in some people's cases, their shadow side could really literally have anger issues, and their shadow side could be someone who's easily triggered. But the root cause of that could be something that happened in their childhood. You know what I'm saying? So it'd be up to them to really get to the root, you know, cause of what that is, so that they can actually heal. You know that you're healed is when you move accordingly. Like, to be healed is literally moving accordingly, that you know that something does not even affect you anymore. It's like, I'll use this as an example. Let's say that, you know, eating meat is not good for me. To be healed is like, I don't even crave meat. Like, it's not even something like I even have a connection to. Like, I just don't crave it. You know what I mean? Imagine having almost like a sleeping beast inside of you. And that beast is triggered or awakened by someone. That's kind of like an example of what a shadow side would be. Now, knowing yourself, you know what it is, or knowing that shadow side, let's say that you know that beast, right? You know, let's say, okay, let me use this as an example. Let's say inside, right, you are a gorilla. And then let's say the gorilla comes out, right? And then you're having a conversation with the gorilla. And the gorilla is like, I'm upset, beating on his chest, like, yada, 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 yapping, right? And you knowing your shadow side, right? Let's say you're like a zookeeper, right? You studied gorillas. You know exactly what they like. You know exactly how to appease the gorilla. You realize, oh, the gorilla likes bananas. So let me get this gorilla some bananas. Now, yeah, that's pretty much how it works. Like, you know, I mean, I'm not gonna say to feed or to starve your shadow side. I mean, you really would just have to train it, honestly. You really would just have to train it, because you can't say that it's something wrong with it, for everything has a purpose in nature, right? A gorilla's purpose could be something, right? Everything has a purpose in nature. Literally, yeah, everything has a purpose in nature. Sorry, my headphones are doing something weird right now. They're so annoying. But yeah, okay, so everything has a purpose in nature. So the more that you, it's really not like a negative thing, like as people kind of make it seem like, but the better you comprehend your shadow side, the better that you know how to move accordingly, you know, with or without it. I wouldn't say without it. Maybe, I don't know, could you exist without a shadow side? Can we exist as people without shadow sides? Is that a thing? You know, even a child, like you're naturally gonna see with that child. You're naturally gonna see a child in you're gonna see all behavior levels of a child. You're gonna see a child's shadow side. Children are the best example to use because they don't have a filter. So they're the best. Where the cool part comes into play is the fact that you can move with or without it. It's like, you imagine your shadow side being that you might be a sex addict, right? But you can move. You know this, right? Let's say you know this. Okay, that's you've done enough self-work, and you know, to comprehend parts of yourself that you're probably not the proudest of. And you know, man, all right. You know deep down you might want to be a hoe. And then you realize, you know what? Do I want everything that comes along with that pathway? And if the answer is no, then you literally just don't have to feed that side. Like, you don't have to be that. And the crazy part is that some people just don't come into the realization, oh, like, I don't actually have to, I don't have to be that. That part of me might be there. It might exist, but I don't actually have to be that. And it's kind of like similar in the movie Twilight, where, you know, Edward, he's like a vampire or whatever, right? And, you know, they chose not to eat humans, basically. You know what I mean? They chose not to do that. So, you know, he could have just gave in to his shadow side. That's who he truly was, you know, right? This apex predator or whatever, right? He could choose, right, to give into that side, but no. He knew that about himself. He knew his shadow side. He knew exactly who he was. But no, that's not who he wanted to be. You can know who you are, but you can have the comprehension skills to know who you are, but realize what you want to be and put energy on what you want to be. Because at the end of the day, focus goes where energy flows. And whatever you do frequently becomes your energy. And, you know, whatever you feed, you know, that's what becomes. That's what becomes. So if you just, you know, there's a different saying, I think that was said to say the same thing I'm saying. But yeah, basically, like, the energy goes where focus flows. Energy grows where focus flows. That's what it was. Energy grows where focus flows. So if he wanted to focus on being a full-blown cold-blooded, so yeah, in Twilight, you know, he could have been this cold-blooded vampire, you know, but he chose not to be that, period. So, and moved and walked and lived his life accordingly. And stood and moved and walked and lived his life accordingly. So, yeah, that's the cool part. Is that some people don't realize, like, you know, just literally, like, nourish the parts of yourself that you actually really adore. If you don't really, like, I'm not to say if you don't fuck with your shadow, your shadow could be good too. I'm not even, like, it's just, your shadow is just, like, you know, your shadow could be something, a part of you that you don't show to people that actually would be appreciated in a different way, where it could be utilized in a different way. Imagine if we had okay, just the fact that we're in America, just hypothetically speaking, let's say that okay, for an example, right? Because it happens. For an example, right? Let's say the Hawk is created in America. The Hawk. Now, the Hawk would be seen as a thing that is completely out of control. This experiment has went completely out of control. Put the Hawk up. But let's say, you know, that an alien invasion has just occurred that could harm innocent people. And the Hawk could be utilized to stop it. Let the Hawk, you know, utilize its abilities and direct it towards that area, which eventually the Hawk becomes that. You know what I mean? The Hawk becomes this, you know, the Hawk becomes an Avenger. The Hawk becomes an Avenger. So in some cases, you know, it's just really about being able to be a really good sensei. A really good sensei is, I would say a sensei is an intelligent individual or being who has the ability to literally earthbend, like Avatar. And that might be a rare type of being, but there was a reason why Avatar could be Avatar. There's a reason why a sensei is a sensei, because their intellect, right, can comprehend all that is. So it knows, okay, it knows what a flower needs, right, in order to grow.